Hello everyone. Welcome to my presentation of my fact sheet that covers the diet and health beliefs in the African country of Kenya. My name is Abby Odom. This fact sheet was made for the Masters of Applied Nutrition at the University of New England, class 620. Um, I hope today that first off you learn about the country of Kenya and the many tribes and cultures that are there. I also hope that you can learn a bit about the different food dishes of Kenya and the many food items that they eat there within the different tribes. And then I hope that you can apply this to your professional practice of nutrition wherever you may be for Kenyans, other Africans, and Kenyan Americans. Africa has a great variation in its geography and its landscape, and this has led to many widespread differences in the diet between the regions and the countries. This is explained in Alec et al.'s article, African Diet. Kenya is one of Africa's countries and is found in East Africa with the equator at its center. It is made up of evergreen-laden mountains, a stretch of savanna, and the Indian Ocean at its eastern border, according to the East Africa Living Encyclopedia. In Rashke's Food Habits of Kenya, it's explained that Kenya itself is made up of several different tribes, each of which has its own dietary patterns that are produced by all of these different climates and types of geography. However, much of the tribe's cuisine and dietary patterns are intermingled, so they share many common dishes. Some traditional Kenyan foods and dishes are included in the following list of food items. Chapati is the first to be discussed. Chapati is a flatbread. It is made with maize and is eaten alongside meal entrees like soup, meat, and vegetables. It has been influenced by Indian cuisine. Ugali is pictured here. It is a very common doughy bread and is made by boiling ground maize, corn, and is used to scoop up gravies, stews, and other foods, vegetables, and things like that. As you can see in the photo, it is featured alongside a stew. It is that white triangle that's to the left of the bowl. It is very soft, but tastes very bread-like. A very common entree in Kenya is called sukuma wiki. Its popularity is widespread throughout the country. It consists of a leafy plant that is related to kale, and it is cooked in a beef broth or gravy and is often eaten with ugali. Ugali is the common utensil used to scoop up sukuma wiki. Here you can see samosas. Samosas are another popular bread item that are made by forming an uncooked bread triangle, which is the shape you can see here. It is then filled with meat, which is usually beef but can be other meats, folded, and then deep fried. Here you can see chai. Kiswahili is a language often spoken in Kenya, and in Kiswahili, chai means tea. Chai is just simple black tea. It is boiled with milk, with sugar and spices added. Chai is an integral part of Kenyan life, and it is drank by everyone in rural and urban areas, according to the American University's Nairobi Center, and it is also drank throughout the day. In a study of the many ethnic groups in Kenya by Onyango and Komokoti, it was found that the majority of them eat 3 or more meals a day with intermittent snacks. Kenyans rarely eat on the go or on their own. They are usually found eating meals with family members or friends and are often in their homes. Ugali and other bread items are the most common utensil used to scoop up other food items such as meat, stews, and vegetables. Breakfast in Kenya is referred to as kifungua kinywa. Lunch is called chakula cha mchana, and dinner is chakula cha jioni, as can be found on the My Languages Swahili vocabulary webpage. Some common breakfast, lunch, and dinner items, as noted by Dr. Amelia Kenya, the written correspondence include chai with yams in the morning, ugali and stew with vegetables in the afternoon for lunch, and chapati with lentils and vegetables at dinner. She stated that this is also true for Kenyan Americans, but sometimes with varying levels of Western influence incorporated in with traditional Kenyan food items. Health beliefs in Kenya are as diverse as the ethnicities, languages, and religions that reside there. There are many beliefs revolving around foods that should be eaten during pregnancy, childhood, and between genders. This also varies in the varying religions, such as Islam, Christianity, and tribal religions that are practiced there. In the coastal Luo tribe, women's diets are restricted from certain meats like hippopotamus and elephant. In the Kikuyu tribe, pregnant and lactating women eat meals that are purposefully high in salt and green leaves. And finally, in the Samburu tribe, luxury foods are saved for the elderly only. The traditional diet of the Kenyan population is slowly changing. In a study completed by Stein et al., it was found that as rural areas are becoming urbanized and a more Western diet is being introduced, the more processed foods containing empty calories are growing in popularity. However, Kenya and other East African countries have been found to be quite immune from this compared to South Africa due to the population's access to land and personal crops that replace marketplace foods present in South Africa. So we are seeing a westernization in the Kenyan diet, but not at the rate seen in other countries such as South Africa. There were several challenges in compiling the information that's found on this fact sheet for Kenyan and American Kenyan diets. The first challenge was that due to the many tribes and cultures within Kenya, there are many variations and differences in the emphasis of food groups like meat, blood, and seafood. Also, there's a profound lack of scholarly literature regarding the assimilation or attention of the Kenyan diet upon immigration to the United States. A local Kenyan American family was contacted to provide information on this topic for the purpose of this fact sheet. Written correspondence was collected from Dr. Amelia Kenya, the matriarch of the family. Fun fact, their last name is Kenya, which is apparently a very long story. Also, there appears to be an oversaturation of scholarly and non-scholarly literature surrounding the Kenyan runner's diet due to the high volume of Kenyans in distance athletics like Olympic running. The interest in the diets of these athletes was high, and it appears to be of utmost popularity on the topic of the Kenyan diet. This made it very difficult to find the information on the current diet of Kenyans in their home country and in America that I needed for this fact sheet. Nutrition concerns specific to Kenya are very challenging to conjure. Each tribe in each region consumes a very different diet from its neighbor. Some of these tribes are vegetarian. They have very limited animal product intake, while some other carnivores consume mostly meat, dairy, and blood. Other tribes fall within this gradient, so we find some that have a mostly vegetarian diet, but in different times of the year, or things like that, they'll consume more animal products. Others consume mostly animal products, but also some vegetables. So it just kind of falls on a gradient. Also, due to the varying landscape and geography and weather in Kenya, we see different tribes eating different items. Like in the coastal tribes, such as the Luo, we see them consuming a diet with more fish and shrimp. Obviously, these are going to contain different nutrients, such as omega-3s, vitamin D, and things like that, which can affect the health of the participating population. Also, as noted before, Kenya is undergoing a dynamic cultural shift towards a more westernized way of living, which includes their diet. Like we said, this has introduced more processed foods that look more like the American diet. So it may be more soda, sugar, processed foods, things like that. This is worrisome, and that it could produce non-communicable diseases that we see in the U.S., like diabetes and obesity. Some topics of importance that should be discussed with Kenyans that are under our council include the transition from their traditional diet to that more similar to the Western or American diet. This could happen either before they come to America in Kenya, or it could have happened when they came to America. It's important to emphasize specific foods for clarity and explain the role of processed foods in non-communicable diseases. It should be emphasized that a varied diet is consumed, as some Kenyan tribal diets can be focused on certain items like chapati and ugali, which are both derived from maize. or focus on meats only or dairy only, which can limit the range of foods consumed. This is similar to what we see in America, where sometimes we see people that consume similar food items all day, which obviously is not healthy. A varied diet is suggested. Also, travel is often made by foot in Kenya. Children walk to school, adults walk to work, they walk to each other's houses. But Kenyan Americans may experience a reduction in exercise due to travel by car or by bus, which is what we commonly see in America. It's important that they understand that due to this reduced activity, they may be getting less exercise. They should also know that exercise is important in disease prevention, especially since their diet may change upon coming to America. So it's definitely something that as counselors we need to emphasize with them so they know that they need to maybe try to be more active, ride a bike, something like that, or exercise more often. When you're counseling Kenyans and Kenyan Americans, first off, it's very important to note that there could be a language barrier, so an interpreter may be needed or another intervention like that. Kenyans usually speak Kiswahili and or English in Kenya, but there are various mother tongues and local dialects that are present in Kenya. Also, meal timing is similar to those practiced in America, but variations could be present between families or tribes. They vary from those we commonly see in America, or even, due to wet or dry seasons in Kenya, we could see differences there. Also, when we're creating meal plans, we need to take into account that snacks are often consumed in Kenya, as well as, when they're usually going to eat, they're going to eat 3 meals, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This is similar to America, but we also need to know that their familiar foods aren't going to be quite like ours, so we need to include familiar food items in meal plans. This does depend on the westernization of their diet patterns in each different individual patient. Foods common in America may be unfamiliar upon arrival, and proper meal planning may require creativity on our part as a counselor to make sure that we are making meals that are palatable to the patient and somewhat resemble what they are used to eating. Religion is probably of utmost importance in counseling those nutritionally that are from Kenya or Kenyan American, as there are many religions that are present in Kenya. These include tribal religions, Christianity, Islam. Islam places many restrictions on the foods consumed by those who are practicing it. So in Islam, for example, foods have to meet the standards of halal, which are permissible foods that meet recommendations set by the Islamic holy book, the Quran. For example, Muslims are told to refrain from mixed meats, alcohol, and animals slaughtered in non-halal processes. This sets a greater limit on the foods that can be incorporated into meal plans, and could greatly affect the efficacy of prescribed treatment. So if you give them a treatment that has, a mixed meat broth or a broth of unknown animal origin, they're not going to be able to consume that, as well as pork. Anything that is from a pig, they can't consume that. So you just have to keep in mind what religion your patient is coming from, if they're Kenyan American, and what that means for what they can eat. So here are the slides containing my references. I hope that you feel like you've learned a lot about Africa, especially Kenya, their food dishes, their culture, religion, things like that. I hope that it changes the way you will counsel Kenyan Americans and Kenyans in the future, and I hope it makes it a little bit easier for you in understanding what they come from and what they may be facing upon arrival at the United States. Let me know if you have any questions, and I look forward to watching everyone else's presentations. You guys have a great evening.